You had him. You can run with it whenever you want, Georges.
Okay, so let's get started then. Well, thank you folks for coming. I'll try to make a big screen of this thing here. So this is just a bit of a presentation on the drone stuff in the north. I thought we're getting more involved with the drones up north, so just a quick share with you guys about what we've been doing with drones and what I've been learning myself with drones. I'm 53 now, so I still got a good few years in the business, so I want to learn more about this drone thing because it's important. So before we begin, in case of emergency, you guys know what to do. I don't know where you are and stuff, but make sure you get a plan to get out and stuff. As far as the presentation today, Yellowknife, we do have a lot of power outages. So if this happens during this share here, if I get lucky, but then we'll do it next Thursday next time, unless it's rescheduled. And maybe it'll be all right too, I don't know. By the way, just that you guys know, we do have power outage regularly. So I'm just going to introduce myself first. My name is George Connellison. Please don't forget the S at the end of George. I come from, that's those my old folks, my mom and dad. My dad came from Belgium after the war in 1953. He came to Quebec and he married my mom, who was a teacher. My dad was dealing with greenhouses. And this is a family. So we had 10 kids in the family, and I'm right here at the bottom here, the youngest son, and my little sister is the last one. So we used to call the kids. There's just a quick note about this kind of, I read that the other day, but oh, that's interesting. That makes you think a bit, right?
Yeah.
This is my wife, Emilia. We met in Yellowknife, and we've been together for a long time, and that's in the Freeland Park in Yellowknife. Our daughter, Lisa, she's a very artistic person. She works at the fitness place here, and she loves dogs, and she sent a little picture of her dog to the calendar, by the way. And that's me, one of my hobby, playing the bass. We're out of, these things that were used to be circle, but this one is square. And this is my hobby also, riding my bicycle. This is a bike I bought from Brian Bill. Very nice bike, solid. And one of my hobbies also walking to the nature. This is in Wati. Another hobby I have is to read. So here's a last couple of books I read. And the one on the left is about Shackleton. If you ever had a chance to read this story, it's quite an incredible story. It's a guy who went to the South Pole. And the first time I read this, I remember going to rent a movie. It was a movie about this exploration. And when I started watching it, it was a documentary from BBC. I thought, oh my God, that's so boring. I thought it was going to be an action movie. And it was so riveting. It was such an incredible story. And this guy, Shackleton, is quite the leader. Very interesting story. And Duff, well, we all know Duff, right? So interesting books. And also I enjoy the company of good people and enjoying tea and coffee with the good company. All right, my experience is basically, this is my resume here, the corporate resume. So basically I'm a project manager at Challenger, and also a health and safety advisor for the company here in Yellowknife. And background, I've been in the North for 20 years. I'm with the asset since 2004 as a CET. And education is St. John's in surveying. Quebec is pure and applied sciences. And a few years back, I took my course in occupational health and safety at the University of Calgary, Edmonton certificate. Okay, photogrammetry and drones. My experience is minimal. I got some college class in photogrammetry. I did back when I first came to Yellowknife, I did some work with the RSO and prepared the aerial photos for the land claims at that time, with job that's very well actually, and that big land claims they had in the northern Nunavut. In 2014, when I closed my little company, I used to have a little company, and I closed it, and I wanted to keep learning about this stuff. So I said, well, I'm going to buy a little thing. So I bought a Calibrate camera and the PhotoModeler software. PhotoModeler is a company from BC that does same kind of thing like this. So I was more playing with this, noodling with this, I should say, and doing some ground-based photogrammetry. Then a few years after, I bought an FE from Spatial. I don't have much experience flying. I just fly to learn really what it's like to be flying. I got an advanced pilot certificate in 2020, and I've been playing with photo capture software, which I'm going to show you a bit today. And I like to do a bit of info snacking on the internet. Speaking of info snacking, a good webinar. This webinar there is a good webinar to watch on the subject of drone data acquisition. quite a bit of principles apply also to from photogrammetry, right? So this is really good for it. By the way, this presentation is a PDF document, so if you guys want a copy of it, that's not a problem. So working and living in Northern Canada. So we work in the north and we live in the north. And I remember years ago, I came to Young Life when I was there in 2000 in Nunavut, and the lady, one of the waitress, said, "The odds are good, but the good ones are odd." And my brother, he came to Young Life back in the 80s, and when you remember, he told me, "George, Young Life is a city of eccentrics." That was his memory of it. So it's quite different here. It's different in geography, communities. We got 32 communities, I believe, in Northwest Territories. We got lots of different cultures. We got lots of different languages. There's 11 languages in the north, official languages. Respect is very important. Our infrastructures are so-so. Lots of travel by road and mostly by air. So we travel a lot by air. If I'm not mistaken, there's a saying that the stats is 50,000 flights in and out of Yellowknife per year. Medevac, very important. If you got people, if you come to the north and stuff, and make sure you got medevac if you're not covered by the generality, because then it might be pretty expensive to fly from somewhere else should it be needed. The work sites, we do a lot of work into the remote work sites. It's a classification of three work sites. We got close, distant, and remote. I would say that half our work is at least half our work probably is in the remote. So in the north, we like to plan, to conserve, and to be very resourceful. It's a very different place. We don't have access to a lot of, lots of people in the company went to really work in north, so they know firsthand the reality of it. Here's a map of Northern Canada. So we do the bulk of our work from latitude 60 and 70. So if you went from Edmonton, which is probably 53.5, I think, and if you go down 10 latitudes down to 43.5, that gives you a bit of an idea how much of a travel you do. So like the summer with a guy who went to work at Grise Fjord, he went around Nunavut, Dylan his name, and went around and he went to Sanikiluaq and did the tour, right? This is the cards we give to the guys in the field. So just to give you an idea, the projections in the back shows the zones that all we travel, so from 8 till 22. So there's quite a big area of work where we work. So we travel a lot, and it's very difficult on logistics. So you have to think carefully. The realities of the north were transient, independent, remote work sites, limited access to support, limited access to resources, and we don't have much time. So we're busy people, and we also work wear many hats. Example of that, for example, yesterday I had a meeting with the WCC, and we had a lady from Iqaluit, and we were joining on a Zoom meeting, and she couldn't access half the time with her Zoom camera because not enough bandwidth and lots of issues. Even this week, I hear Jean Simon come to the office to work, and then his first thing he says, "Oh, look at this! It's so quick here to get the files uploaded and downloaded." And little things like this, right? But it's very, very different. So for us in the north, when it comes to drones, we're really looking for a drone that there's no lock by manufacturer. So what I mean by that is not having some manufacturers, what they'll ask is you need to have a license to be able to fly, upload it to the machine to fly next to the airports within the 5 nautical miles. It needs to be small, minimal amount of battery, stable in the wind. It's a windy place. No compass navigation. Global shutter, that's a pretty important one. What it does is the global shutter, what it is when the picture is taken, the shutter opens and closes as a printer. If you can compare it to a printing machine, for instance, and what the rolling shutter does is it rolls. So as an analogy, imagine if I'm printing a paper, and as I'm printing, I'm moving the page. So it's a big problem when it comes to photogrammetry. If your shutter is not global, right? Because then you're gonna have some distortion because things are moving basically. It's nice to have the IS picture size, 12, 14, 18, 24. I don't know what it is. Actually, you guys would be the best to tell me about that. We also have NAV Canada. We have some regulations from NAV Canada for advanced operations. So if we're in Yellowknife, Norman Wells, Hay River, Iqaluit, Inuvik, and so this is, if you look 5 nautical miles from the community, that's pretty much the community, right? And it might be nice also to have something low cost. So basically that every surveyor has one. Go work somewhere and you always fly it the more you can. become good at something, you got to do it, right? And it's really true for a drone. I've flew my drone probably 10 maybe 10 to 15 times so far as a hobbyist. And every time I come across a new thing, so, oh, well, I didn't come, and it's really surprising to see how much things you come across. So you really, from a business standpoint, you really need to fly to be competent, right? So my selected drone. So I selected the Parrot Hanafi Dwarf. It's just a hobby I have. So a few years back, I talked to folks at Spatial. Now they got a company called Carto Canada, I think, and they specialize into the drone thing and the EVs. And so the guy told me, yeah, the Parrot was a good one to get, and it met the specs that I had up here, which was the personal specs from experience of the North. This is just what I like to use. There's plenty of things out there. And for example, Transport Canada has some good advice. When you're buying a drone, important choose the right one for you. That means selecting a drone that is safe enough for where you want to do it and to go where you're going to be and stuff, but also approved by Transport Canada. And when you go into their website where you get the ones for approved, there's 363 entries of drones. So there's lots of choice on the market. So we really have a lot of choice that we can go and see, okay, which one is best for us, right? If you find that I speak a bit fast, just be mindful that I learned to speak my English in Newfoundland when I was 21. So that's where it comes from. So this is what it looks like, that drone. This is the, it's pretty compact. I like it. So it comes with, this is the drone here. It sits on the top there. And at the bottom, there's underneath, there's where this charger stuff goes underneath this thing here. That's the controller. This is the 4 batteries, the little protector for it, cell phone, and the cable. And this is the cable that goes from this to this. This is the way it's set up. Little joke here, where were you in the 80s? This thing is often compared to the 80s controller. That's a bit, yeah, it works good. The only thing that would be nice on it is if this thing was removable. Those joysticks are not removable. So if you carry it in the case, it's great. But if you carry it in the bag and stuff, then you would have to be a little bit more comfortable. Download is nice because then you don't have to worry about taking out the card. So you have no risk of losing the card. Charging is nice too. It's pretty simple and it's well designed. One of them things here is has got a more powerful charge where it will go charge faster because it does take a bit of time to charge all the batteries, right? This is the battery in question. So let's remember that it's handled with care. That's the dangerous goods. So flying in the North is something that we have to keep in mind. In the North is we fly everywhere, so we carry dangerous goods everywhere, which is lithium-ion batteries. So when you choose a drone, it's important to select something that they don't have too many batteries also, because now you think you're going on a job somewhere, you already got the batteries for the GPS, and you also have to have the batteries for the drone. So now you're starting to be loaded with batteries, and there's some restrictions from the airlines and from the regulations as how much batteries you can carry. Right? So something to keep in mind as far as selecting a drone, that you probably want to get a drone that has the most, the best ratio of power of battery and the amount you need to get. Right? This is comparing the Phantom 4 and the NFE side by side. I just put it there because oftentimes it's also in the North we're limited in how much stuff we can bring. So for instance, when Dylan this summer went to Sénéchilouac, he was only limited to 44 pounds. So 44 pounds is all he could bring on the plane, right? So oftentimes we are pretty limited on size, so we don't have the luxury to carry to travel like Divas, and so being frugal is advisable. Targets. This little section here is just about targets, a little project I was working on this spring and summer, just a little side project. And so what I played with is I made a little design of targets, and I went to see the folks here at Canartic and says, you want to see building this? And I thought about it. I thought, if we make targets that are sort of designed with a bag and stuff, then it gets pretty easy for us to travel around and just put in the bag and go somewhere and then do your thing, right? The bag is a drum. It's a assembled bag, 24 inches. So this is a few targets made by Canartic, the drone and the bag, which also can be used as a landing and takeoff pad, right? That's what it looks like. So when a guy goes in the field and stuff, a person could do using this stuff, a person could put this on their back and then start working with the GPS, put the first target, put the second target, and so on. I didn't realize that, but when I did buy the bag, after that, I realized that there was compartments in the bag. So what happens is you can put your targets face to face when you back to back. I mean, when you put them into the bag, so that and there's 2, 2, 2, 2. So there's 8 total, but then you don't scratch your targets, and it can keep nice for a long time. How much are these things? So making 8 targets, 10 targets, cost me $500, and the bags were something like 200 something bucks for so basically 129 per bag. Special order. I guess the symbols are mostly 22 inches. So this is just the specs on the material of the these things here. So basically, there's 2 components. The white is tied to the whiteboard, and then they put a black thing on top. So the Elenbright is the white thing, and the this is the premium cast vinyl. So it's supposed to be very good for all kinds of weather and all this stuff. It's I mean, this one of the advantages of getting stuff in the north is you get manufacturers that know the place, so they sell you stuff that's designed for the place, right? Which is a nice thing. So there you go. So we're ready to travel. We got 8 targets. They weigh 35 pounds, and there's a bag that comes with it. So we'll try not to forget them if we're going to use them, right? Why I like targets? They're not dangerous goods, so it's easy to ship on a plane. There's no risk of loss from a paint mishap. In my 20 years in the north, I've seen 3 times, witnessed three places where a truck got splashed with paint inside the cab because of a mishap with the paint. It's a pretty big deal, a big problem. So you don't have the problem with paint, right? It's also very easy to incorporate in your workflow. You grab your bag, you go for a little walk, you put your target, you survey it, you go fly. Once you're done flying, you go back, you put your survey, you survey your point again to check, and then you pick up your target, put it back in the bag, and then you're done, right? It's respectful of our environment, and it's also, I think, aligns with our own environment policy also as a company, right? I mean, trying not to keep the environment beautiful is probably a thing that we all like to do. This is around Yellowknife. So here's an example of nature. So a few years back, just a short story. I enjoy walking around Yellowknife and around the trail, around the lake. It's a beautiful trail. And I was walking, and it's around the time they were building a new hospital, and I came across a big, huge orange paint in that nice little natural path, right? And I thought, oh, that's unfortunate. It was unfortunate. So if we can leave the nature at its best in its natural state, why not, right? Now, there's just food for thought on this one. I thought, well, why did they use these colors for the archeries? Is there a reason why they use yellow, red, blue, black as a convention? And I don't have enough experience for all that, but maybe just something that we could toy with sometimes and see, is it better for the people that are dealing with data processing? Maybe it's more visible or something, I don't know. I really don't know what would be the reason, right? Maybe it's just a convention, or maybe it's easier to, I don't know. I just put it in there. Okay, our case study, NWT Highway 3, kilometer 310 quarry. So what I did is I went for a little cruise on one Sunday. So I went to the quarry. Oh my God, what are these old things? So I went to the quarry and I brought the old GPS 900 that we have in the basement. I figure I'll just give it a test, see if we can trade it in and stuff, so that as well see if it still works. It still works. So I set up the 900 and I brought my car, my daughter's car actually, and set up our control point by the quarry. This is a view of the quarry. Typical quarries of the Northwest Territories. This is another view of the car and the GPS. This is a little kit. And this is the drone. So basically the drone this is set up hours years ago. And in hindsight, what a guy should do, really a person should do is if using a thing like this for a pad, is to put it upside down. Because then what happens is you don't have, when this thing lands, a few times I landed, and if you don't land dead center on it, then you might bounce off, right? Whereas if you just go the other side of the bag, then it's I guess you got something else, but it's just something to keep in mind. You have to be a pretty good pilot to land right dead on that small spot. This is a screen picture of what the mission looks like in progress. So you see all these dots that are showing the each picture taken and as it goes by it. Simple to use. Pix40 is and Parrot are sort of the same company. So they're parent, I think Parrot is a parent company of Pix40 or vice versa. And same with DEB, it's all the same company. One other thing I did at the quarry I thought might be interesting is shoot when I was GPS walking around. I thought, well, what if I shoot the top of the pipe and the bottom of the pipe, and then when I process it and stuff, see if we can, what will do, what will the photogrammetry do, right? So as I said, it's very easy to use this system. You just walk, you put your target, take a GPS shot, and then you go back after the OA, right? And if you want to be very finicky, what you can do is when you come back, you go back and you aim by rotating in a different direction so that you get your 180 bubble rotation. And then you can converge the shot and get more accuracy, which is probably not required for drone stuff, right? But it's a good check. It's a good check after, because basically after, by doing the survey after, you also check that the target doesn't move. The target is designed with a bit of a hole in the middle, so you could use a spike or a nail and secure it in the ground. But it's still the last shot at the bottom at the end confirms that the target didn't move, which is probably a good idea. Another area of interest was the gravity spot. So there's a place here where I thought, well, what if we shoot some point here at the ground level? Will the drone return? What elevation are we getting? Are we getting something somewhere here? Are we getting the ground, right? So I thought, let's give it a shot. So here's a case study. So what we'll do here at this point, so I'm just going to check out something here. So what I did is ask a few of our colleagues if they wanted to process the stuff that I did. So I sent the pictures on in Moncton and in Whitehorse, and it was processed. Now the next page, please be mindful that it's very just me playing with the data and stuff. So they did process it for me, and then I just brought it into the CAD software and get a bit of a comparison results on a bunch of points that I had shot at the quarry level. So let's check out something here while we just to give you a bit of an idea. So this is the PhotoCapture is the software that Carlson has. So basically they got a partnership with a different company that does photogrammetry. So in Edmonton, we use Pix40, and I think Whitehorse I use Agisoft. So this one is just something I'm toying with, and just wanted to learn a bit more about it. So let's see what the market has with it. So if at the launch, the way it's designed is pretty simple. It goes by a user. It's basically your base. So what you do is you have a membership per year, and you give them some money, and they process it, and then you get an account with so much data available, right? And it's online processing. The reason why I like it personally, as far as is because I've been dealing with Carlson since 2006, I think, and I always been very satisfied with them. I think they're a very good company for a lot of good reasons. But I mean, you use a software that you prefer also, but it's and this, so it's a good program I find. So basically, what you do, you launch it, and here's the Carlson PhotoCapture sites they call it. So here I got a few sites. So basically, we'll look at this highway tree here. So this is the one where I went to the quarry. So this is the one here. So when you open the program, it brings you just, you would process it and everything. And because things have been processed already, then there's no real need for to read it again. But it's pretty simple. Like I had no experience processing stuff like that, and I just went on there and I did it, and it's simple, right? Now, is it good or not? Then I don't have the experience for it yet, but just give you an idea anyway. So I look at the project report. So this should probably be on top. So I'm going to export it to a PDF. And I'm going to open let's have a look at the R2 image. Yeah, see, I already played with it. So I'm going to delete a few things here because I played with it a bit yesterday. I had an idea. Let me just delete this here. Okay, let's have a look at the report after. So this is the okay, I'll go in 3D. That's what's happening here. If I go in 3D, more interesting in 3D. So this is a query. That's how we shot. And then if I look at here's a side view of the query, and we can do a little turn on. Here's my car. Oh, what's happening with the car here? Oh, looks like global warming is real, people. So this is the query here. This is from the modeling, so it's the image. And if I just go home here, let's have a look at the report. So we'll look at the report first. So this is the report. It's PIT, protocol report. When I went out in the field, I had I wanted to go with 2 centimeters accuracy for the GSD, and in the end, it gives me an accuracy of 7 centimeters for the auto image and 14 centimeters for the digital model. And then the report goes on with a bunch of things. And I don't really know what all these things are. It's a bunch of stats and stuff. And that's and then your control points and so forth. It's a nice report. And there's your target and stuff. So this is how you can from there, and then from there you can export all your stuff into this thing here. The one cool thing about this, I just realized yesterday, just playing with it, is say for instance, if I want to do a quick grid of something, say if I want to do a quick, you can add polygon. So for instance, if I do something here, you can go around it. And it gives you areas, but you can also calculate your volumes and all kind of things. And let me see here. And the thing is, I read 12:30, so I don't want to waste too much time because we want to chat a bit about all this. But basically, what I did yesterday, and you can just create your. It's quite a detailed thing, and you can do all kind of things as far as measurements and calculate volumes and quantities and creating your tins and everything straight from there and export it to CAD or do it right inside here. And the nice thing about this particular program is you can also give somebody an admin right. So say for instance, if I don't know, somebody in France wanted to have a look at it, I could just give them the login. They send them the link and they'll log in as a guest, and they can go and play with all that too, right? So that's the program I was playing with. Now I just want to go over the lesson shared with our subarctic pilots and our processing specialist. So basically, to become a good pilot, we have to fly, and fly some more. Being a master is really where we want to be. Me personally, I'm somewhere between here and there as far as playing with drone and stuff. So ask the folks share with me some stuff that you discovered, and I'm putting here. So those are the comments. Flight test the drone to make sure it's going to respond to the controls. So that doesn't mean it will fly. So we'll make sure that it's going to fly, right? Permission to fly. And then it's for us, it's a big liability because if we don't have here, what the pilot is saying is, if we cannot fly, the person to fly doesn't mean we will. That means when you get to the place where you're gonna fly, you may or may not fly it. So you can imagine if I prepare a proposal and I say, okay, yeah, we'll go fly in Nunavik, and we go to Nunavik, and then for some reason it doesn't fly, then it's a big problem, right? And what I'll do for all this, because it's a bit long, is I'll just go through it, and like I said, it's available as a PDF, so you can have it. And so basically, it's just lots of good comments here from people. And I apologize for being so long because I never realized, I didn't retime it. I didn't think about how much time it would take, and it's already 12:30, so I don't want to take much time here. So you can read all this. The big takeaway from me for hearing what people say and stuff is to make sure that we have the right planning, the right drone for the job as far as the size too. If we have a huge area, make sure that we go with DB and be having something that we can really work with, right? And this is just some little thing here, a little tip for working. And this thing is just, I just want to share you guys this. It's just like a personal thing I came across, but basically it's just a little guide to show you how to fix your drone. So really, if a person is good with this kind of stuff, which I'm not, but if you can imagine if a person can just buy these parts and just fix in-house, then it gets pretty simple to do it. And they also have a movie that shows on the website, on the YouTube, how to do it from scratch, right? I mean, it's a bit intimidating at first, but then in reality, I don't think it's that difficult. And yeah, that's it. All right, so should we talk about drones?
Can you, Georges, can you share that result of those 3 different? Oh God,
Oh.
just ran off my dog's tail. The results of those 3 different processing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. You're okay.
Okay, there you go.
Did you have any general comments on this?
Actually, one thing I was going to do on this is just show you on the reason why some of the comments are, for instance, these points here, the ones with this asterisk, those were taken outside of the zone of the perimeter of the control.
Oh yeah.
So my only comment with this would be it seems that when I look at the points that are more defined, if we look at just open the CAD file here. So basically, let me just do this on this one here. Let me just maximize this here. Oh, I won't maximize for some reason. Okay, well, let's see if I just go into Surface Inspector. So this is just a Surface Inspector, and I got the 3 surface. I got the Pix40 and the EdgeSoft and Photo Capture. And what I find is if I go to places that are more defined, or more very, some places the points are more close to each other, and some places they're not. And I don't see a lot of logic in it sometimes. Like for instance, here I'll just go to this sun shot here, for instance. So this shot is right on the sun, and when I look at the sun shot, I get 138 with Pix40 and 32 with Whitehorse, and 34 with Photo Capture. So this one is pretty close to each other. But then when I go to some other place, like for instance this pipe I was talking about earlier on, so okay, we got some more variation here. Was the one software gives 0.17, the other one 0.32, 0.19, and some other time it's a different software that does a very different thing. So what I found, I guess, to answer your question, Paul, is I didn't notice anything that was very. It seemed to be a bit not consistent from one to the next as far as the error, saying okay, it's all the same direction and something like this, right?
We certainly noticed that when you step outside the control, when your points are outside the perimeter of the control, your image will look fine and your model will look fine. But yeah, if you have quality control shots out there, you'll find that it dives off. It gets poor very, very quickly when you get outside of control. And the worse the contrast is in the area, the faster that happens.
So why is it? That's one thing I was going to ask you guys, because I don't know about it. Is why is it that I thought that when the software does all the processing of the model itself by itself, then it's strong with it itself. So why is it that how does it tie to the actual external control? How does the external control influence the control itself within the tie of the model?
I'm not sure I totally understand your question, but with Agisoft, which is what I've used, you sort of calibrate the camera based on your control. And so that's what's pinning everything down. And I've just really noticed that when you get outside your control, it all kind of just flaps around. It's not pinned down anymore once you step outside. And I'm not sure. It's just, I guess the geometry just isn't there once you cross outside.
Okay. And Pix40 may be the same way then.
I think so. Yeah, we've had to introduce control when we were in a remote site and our area of interest crossed outside our control, not on purpose, but where we had an oversight in the field. We had to introduce control because it was so bad so quickly by like finding rocks on the imagery. And then fortunately we had LiDAR data for that area, and then we could pull an elevation for the top of the rock and introduce that as a quasi control to make things better. But we had some really, really bad results, like out a meter, only like 30, 40 meters away from outside of control.
Okay. So if somebody that's something we talked about a while back. So if somebody was to go somewhere in the middle of nowhere and survey a stockpile, and then process the stockpile without control at all, would the actual processing of the pile by itself give the same result?
It probably would, because it depends on light conditions to a certain extent. It would probably be within a few percent, I expect, probably less than 1%. But if you have long planar surfaces, especially without much contrast, or if they're grassy or something, and it's really hard to for the software to pull matching pixels out of it, then you'll get some really bad results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like on the table here, you see a 5.42, and that's, I'm pretty sure here that's a mistake I made somewhere, because it's way too much on that. I think it's a mistake I made into the processing. That doesn't make much sense for the rest of the results. But when you look at the thing, that's what I'm driving at, is you don't see much consistency from one to the next as far as the same direction or not. And like I say, here is just a one exercise, a one-shot deal. So it's really, we wouldn't be wise to say this software does this or does that and stuff, right?
Yeah. Thanks, Georges. Did anyone have any questions for Georges?
Hey, George, it's Rob. I was just curious what material those targets were made from. Are they steel or aluminum or wood?
Let's see here where they are. Let's see specs. They're made of Aluma Bright, they call it. It's an aluminum composite media.
Oh, okay.
So it's a aluminum face and synthetic core and aluminum back for it. I guess they use that for displays and signs and digital screen printing and all that. Realistically,
so it's almost a sandwich of aluminum with other stuff in between them.
Yeah, and it's a 3 millimeter thick. The one I got, yeah. But really, and I was thinking about it from a. It's probably just as work to do it in wood. If somebody has a nice thin piece of wood, and just probably get the same results, right? I don't think it has to be that fancy.
Yeah, I've used wood ones in the past, but they don't last for years. Like this aluminum, when you're using a case like that, I can see no reason that it would wear out.
No, exactly. No, you're right about that.
Whereas the wooden ones will over time, right?
Yeah.
Val?
My question is, what I did see, the Parrot, this company went off the market lately, maybe a year or two ago. I have two questions. What about parts if needed?
Yeah.
Because damage like propellers for drone and stuff like this is pretty usual thing, happens all the time. And if you did think about what you think ahead, Phantom or anything else, or any ideas if you did?
Parts, you're right. The parts are always an issue to find, and I've heard not good things about parts as far as getting parts availability on this in this side of the world. For instance, Special, Carto Canada, whatever the name of, they used to be dealer with Special with Parrot, and now they're starting to say, well, maybe the one you should be getting is a different drone, and I think they want to make sure that they got a supply for everybody. But I think the supply seems to be a different issue for parts, yeah. And as far as this drone ideas for the future is, we don't know. I don't know what would be a good one. I think maybe the one that Carto Canada is suggesting might be a pretty good one too for us, right? Like the one thing that the folks at Richard and Drews are mentioning to me about that kind of stuff is it's the drone industry is a very, very moves fast, huh? And things move really fast, and so we have to think about that too, as far as how much. Like 2 years ago, they told me we had the Parrot and FE and stuff, right? And now they're telling me you use this one instead. So it's, who knows, right? The one thing I do know though is the Pix4, the stuff from DJI is a big problem. The no flight zone thing. It's for us, it's a huge. And I know I didn't go through the list of all the stuff from the report from our surveyors and flight people, but it's something that we hear a lot, and lots of it's been really frustrating for them to deal with that, right?
Yeah, our experience in Whitehorse is, I mean, you can get permission to turn them on, but you have to talk to China, which is virtually impossible. We when clients request it now, we just say no, we can't do it. We've tried hard in the past and it hasn't worked.
And I mean, if there was a super drone that would meet all the specs that we need, and that would be less than 250 grams, then that would solve the problem, because then we could bypass also because we've been dealing also with NAV Canada with their new app and stuff, and I know that Mark has been dealing with for a project at Giant Mine, and Giant is in the footprint of the 5 nautical miles, and it's been quite difficult to get approval sometimes from them, right? So that's a problem. I guess my point is, if we offer drone service, because what's happening is the drone services are coming up, so the clients will expect them, right, and stuff. And if we tell them we'll do a drone job, well, then we got to figure out a way to not let them down, right?
Yeah, much different considerations than north and southern offices were it's very rare that we need to fly near an airport, but especially like for Nunavut communities, all those communities are within 5 nautical miles of the airport. So basically you'd be flying.
And what happened in the past thing, I think is sometimes I think also maybe because the no-flight zones are determined in China and stuff, and no, not about the country, but just because they're from away from it. I think what happens, an airport maybe like Whale Cove, which may not be a problem, they might still treat it as an airport, and they might say, okay, let's still put a no-flight zone on this one, right? Because they don't see the difference. They haven't been in the north and stuff. So if there's a case of like this too, then the problem with it is we cannot do anything until we get the approval, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's as an analogy, imagine if a GNSS vendor would say to us, okay, we got this new kit we are selling, and there's a license on it. You cannot work everywhere with it, but we'll unlock the license, but you only find out when you get there, right?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a challenge.
For just general interest, I would say is we're just getting going on building a more comprehensive UAV program within Challenger to address safety and a lot of other items, but competency primarily, I'd say, and safety falls out of that. So we're just getting going on that. It came about as a result of a process improvement request. So that will be coming. So we'll have kind of, I think it's going to result in a much better program.
Okay. That PDF thing, Paul, I'll send to you if you want to send it to anybody who wants it and stuff. So it's made a read, because I kind of cruise pretty quick through all this. So you guys might want to, if you have some interest in it, might want to go through this at your own speed, right?
Yeah, you can go ahead and send it to the whole company, Georges. That's no
Okay.
problem.
No, it's interesting. It's a good experience for me to do this stuff, because it's a bit too in hindsight, it should have been much smaller, right?
No, that's fine. The questions, I mean, I think it was good, very good. We run long, that's good. That means there's lots of material. We don't have the next one of these scheduled. I expect to try to get one more done before Christmas, but we've had a bit of a flurry lately. So thanks for everyone for coming. This will be available. We'll make it available for everyone to watch a recording once it's uploaded. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Georges.
Thank you.
Very comprehensive. Great.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, George.
Yeah, I enjoyed the presentation very much. Very thorough. Thanks, George.
You're welcome.
Merci, George.
Bienvenue. All right.